Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
She's made up her mind to live pretty smart. Learn to budget responsibly right from the start. She spends a little less and puts more into savings. Keeps her blood pressure low and credit score raises. She's cutting debt right out of her life. She tracks her cash flow on a spreadsheet at night.
Boring money moves make kinda lame songs, but they sound pretty sweet to your wallet. PNC Bank, brilliantly boring since 1865.
For the last few months, David Kirkpatrick, over at The New Yorker, has been counting. Adding up a deal here, a deal there, all these deals made by the Trump family for the Trump family. David started counting after reading this analysis in The Times, arguing that even though President Trump was certainly monetizing his public office, the general public didn't seem to care.
And this puzzled me, and I began to wonder if a clearer accounting of all that might make more of a difference.
How long did it take you to count up how much money Donald Trump seems to be making off of the presidency?
It took several months, and one of the most striking things to me is that the volume of money he'd made rose significantly over that time.
So, like, you started out with one number and then it became a different number?
Yeah, I mean, as I was approaching the number, as I was adding things up, there was more and more to add up.
I'm picturing you like, have you ever watched It's a Wonderful Life? At the end, there's the accountant who's like counting up money and it just keeps coming.
Yeah, no, that's precisely right. That's precisely. Picture me in a green eye shade, just drowning under numbers.
David made some rules as he went, like the book deals almost any presidential candidate will get after leaving or taking office. He didn't count those. Also, if Donald Trump or his companies made financial agreements they could have made whether he was in the White House or not, David set those aside too.
So I'm only looking at ways that he is leveraging the presidency or making money that depends crucially on his being president, having been president, about to be president.
So how big was the number in the end?
The number I came to was $3.4 billion.
Did that shock you?
It surprised me, and I continue to be surprised. That number is out of date now.
It's already gone up?
Yeah, on the day that The New Yorker published this article, the Trump family announced another deal. I haven't actually done the research to pinpoint how much it's worth, but the headline figure was $1.5 billion.
Today on the show, why being president is making Donald Trump so much richer, especially the second time around. I'm Mary Harris. You're listening to What Next? Stick around. This show is brought to you by BetterHelp. You know, we can turn to some funny places for support, like barbaristas, hairdressers, even a random stranger in the bathroom when we're looking for life advice. But not everyone's a therapist. And as fun as it can be to talk to strangers about what's going on with you, if you're looking for help about relationships, anxiety, depression, the clinical stuff, it can be better to get guidance from a credentialed therapist. You can do that online with BetterHelp. They've got over 30,000 therapists, and they're the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. A short questionnaire helps identify your needs and preferences, and BetterHelp says they typically find the right therapist for you the first time. You can pause your subscription whenever you need to and switch therapists anytime at no extra cost. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of experience. So find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/whatnext. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/whatnext. This episode is brought to you by Upwork. Hiring shouldn't be a hassle or a drain on your budget. Upwork is your one-stop shop to find, hire, and pay top freelance talent, saving you time, keeping costs in check. Companies at every stage turn to Upwork to get things done and find more flexibility in the way they staff key projects and initiatives. Upwork's global marketplace is filled with top talent in IT, web development, AI, design, admin support, marketing, and more. Posting a job on Upwork is easy. With no cost to join, you can register, browse freelance profiles, get help drafting a job post, or even book a consultation. From there, you can connect with freelancers and easily hire them. Upwork makes the entire process simpler and more affordable with industry-low fees. Post a job today and hire tomorrow with Upwork. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That is Upwork.com to post your job for free and connect with top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com. It's worth a trip down memory lane, back to 2017, right before Donald Trump first took office, because he had a whole press conference promising to separate his business dealings from his presidency. You remember this, right?
Over the weekend, I was offered $2 billion to do a deal in Dubai with a very, very, very amazing man, great developer from the Middle East. And I turned it down. I didn't have to turn it down, because as you know...
Listening to this today feels wild, because now the Trump family's not even trying.
The one requirement that the Trump family really placed on themselves was no foreign deals, no new overseas deals. And they've thrown that right out the window. And Donald Trump Jr. has said, look, when we restricted ourselves in that way, we didn't get any credit for it. People still accused us of profiteering. So why are we going to, quote, lock ourselves in the proverbial padded room, close quote? We're just going to continue being business people, and that includes overseas deals when they come along.
It's not just overseas deals. David separated Trump's revenue into a few different income streams. He started with Mar-a-Lago.
So I had to ask myself, is the money he's made off of Mar-a-Lago dependent on his presidency? And I decided, yes, it is. This is a private club that members can pay to join. And one of the things you get is up close, social, friendly, informal access to the president and his inner circle. What's more, while he was campaigning in 2016, he said that across his hospitality empire, the one business that had really benefited from the campaign was Mar-a-Lago, that his manager at Mar-a-Lago had described that as the best year they've ever had, revenue-wise. And if you look at the reports of the revenue from Mar-a-Lago on his financial disclosure forms, it does go through the roof. I mean, it goes way up and up.
How much does it cost to be a member of Mar-a-Lago these days, and how does that compare to previous years?
Well, what the shocking thing is the initiation fee. When he started running for office, I think it was under $100,000. Now it's reportedly $1 million.
Wow.
So it's definitely become more valuable. I came up with a baseline estimate of about $125 million for the additional revenue he's made, the additional profits he's made from Mar-a-Lago since he first started running for office.
Another category you look at is merch, things like MAGA hats and Trump flip-flops. This is stuff that seems to be everywhere. But you talk about how the way Trump has set it up is basically that he's selling knockoffs of his own campaign merch to profit personally from it. So just explain how this works.
I was really surprised by this. So most of the Trump campaign merch you see is actually Trump campaign merch, right? Most of the time you see a MAGA hat that is sold by his campaign or one of his political action committees, and the money that you pay for the hat goes to fund the MAGA movement or Trump's campaigns and so on.
So it has to go to an election purpose.
Right. So it has to go to an election purpose. Everybody does that, right? John Kerry, Obama, everybody's selling merch for their campaign. What's unusual is that the Trump organization also runs its own store that pays the Trump organization. and it sells merchandise that looks a lot like campaign merchandise, right? I mean, a Trump hat, a Gulf of America hat, you know, all of this could easily be mistaken for Trump campaign merchandise. You might really think as you're buying this that your money is going to support the MAGA movement, but in fact, it's going to support the Trump family. I personally was surprised. Like, I had to check several times because I just could not believe that the Trump organization was even bothering to sell what looked like campaign merchandise rather than sell that stuff exclusively through their campaign funds for the good of their political movement.
Yeah, I guess every penny counts. Then there are real estate deals in the Persian Gulf. Can you explain what's happening there? Because as you pointed out, during his first term, President Trump really tried to stay away from these foreign deals. So how are these deals moving forward, given that this is kind of a new part of how Trump is running himself while he's in the Oval Office?
All right, so foreign deals. The Trump organization has made no secret of the fact that they've been trying to plant their flag in the Persian Gulf, which is a very lucrative market, for a long period of time. They had succeeded only in one instance. That began to change in late 2022. So after he had declared his candidacy for the Republican presidential nomination and immediately become the presumptive nominee, suddenly a Saudi company does a string of 5 mega deals across the region. I'm going to say that is very, very unlikely to have happened if he was not on his way back into the White House.
It looks like cause and effect to you.
Yeah, I feel like that's related, and I say it partly because I covered the Persian Gulf for the New York Times during his first term, and there was a particular series of events there where the Emiratis and the Saudis organized a blockade of their neighbor and rival Qatar that Trump supported. And I understand that the takeaway for a lot of the people in the Gulf was it pays to be doing business with the Trump organization. As one Gulf official told me, it's a safeguard, right? There was he had a golf course in Dubai. Things worked out for Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. He had no investments in Qatar, and Qatar ended up on the short end of the stick. Everybody's doing business with the Trump organization now.
Huh. Okay. We have 2 more categories to get through, like Trump Media and Technology Group and also crypto. Let's start with Trump Media, because this is where you tally the biggest chunk of change. What is the Trump Media and Technology Group, and how much has Trump made from it?
So Trump Media and Technology Group started out the parent company of Truth Social. Truth Social, candidly, is not a very strong business. It's only ever reported about $1 million a quarter in income. It's mostly reported losses. It's never really laid out a convincing way that it's going to get to profit. So after talking to some forensic accountants, I assigned a value to Truth Social, which clearly depends on the presidency. I assigned a value of $25 million, and that's generous. But in the last couple months, the company that owns Truth Social, Trump Media and Technology Group, of which Trump had been the majority shareholder and remains the largest shareholder, has done something else, which is they've taken their stock, which trades at a kind of surprisingly, high price, a difficult to sustain price, what investors call a kind of a meme stock price, where it's basically just reflecting people's feelings of Trump and Trump's status as president. They've taken that stock at its inflated price and they've swapped it for actual assets, right? They've done private deals to sell the stock for cash. And then they've taken a lot of that cash and they've bought Bitcoin. So that publicly traded company that is the parent company of Truth Social now also owns $3.1 billion in liquid assets, including nearly $800 million in cash and 2.3 or 2.4 billion in Bitcoin.
So does this mean that the Trump family has essentially found a way to benefit off of inflated stock and never have to kind of pay the cost of that stock bubble bursting? which might happen in the future.
To a certain extent, yes, right? So prior to this recent series of transactions, Trump faced a conundrum, right? If he tried to sell his stake in Trump Media and Technology Group, which on paper was worth billions, sometimes several billions, it would vanish, right? People, since the stock trades entirely on its connection to Trump, if he started to sell, everybody would run for the exits and the value of that stock would crash. So they did something else, which is they swapped that stock at its inflated price for real assets.
Okay, that kind of leads us nicely to the crypto categories of the Trump family's newly earned wealth. You've broken this down into a number of categories, including American Bitcoin, tokens, Trump's meme coin. I think of crypto as volatile. So how do you make the case that actually the money the Trump family is making here is quite stable and worth counting when you're adding up how much the family is making?
So we just talked a minute ago about Bitcoin. Bitcoin right now is liquid, right? It goes up and it goes down, but there's a real price. You can sell it tomorrow and it doesn't change the price. Trump Media and Technology Group apparently bought 2.3 or 2.4 billion of crypto, and they didn't drive the price up, so they could sell it without the price going down for as far as Bitcoin. Other forms of crypto that they've profited from are much more speculative and much less liquid. At the extreme end of that is Trump's meme coin, right? A meme coin is just a novelty. It's just a kind of online joke. It's a chance to pay some money to the president. So he minted, so to speak, about 1 billion Trump meme coin. He sold 200 million. He kept 800 million. Some people go and say, oh, look, he's got 800 million of these still on the books. We're going to assign some value to that. I'm not assigning any value to that. However, when he sold the 200 million, he brought in some cash and he earned some trading fees from other people instead of trading the meme coin after he sold it. So that money I counted.
Yeah.
And according to the best numbers in the crypto industry, that comes to more than 300 million right there. Now, he's also sold these non-fungible tokens, which are basically kind of digital cartoon representations of President Trump. He's made, more than 10 million, I forget the exact number, off of those. And his wife, Melania, has sold some non-fungible tokens too. And then his sons have gotten into a couple of other more substantial crypto businesses. One of them you mentioned is a company called American Bitcoin. That's a little bit of a complicated saga, but the gist of it is this. Through a complicated series of transactions, the Trump brothers appear to have contributed only their name, only the fact of their participation. And they've come out of this series of transactions with a roughly 13% stake in an actual company, which is going to be mining Bitcoin. What's that worth? It's going to be traded in the public market soon, and it'll probably be worth quite a lot. Very conservatively, I just used an estimate from one of the company's own press releases for the value of their machinery, which is $100 million. So I'm going to count that as 13 million in the bank. It'll probably be worth more.
After the break, is all of this legal? This episode is brought to you by Saks Fifth Avenue. With the weather getting cooler, if you're like me, you're looking around for a couple of new items for your wardrobe, like a new sweater, some cute new kicks. And Saks Fifth Avenue makes it easy to get creative with your personal style and find the best arrivals for fall. I went over to Saks.com to check out what they've got on tap, and I gotta say, what I love about clicking around their website is that every piece looks special, one of a kind, as if you'd walk into the office or a party and instantly grab everyone's attention. All the big brands are there, stuff like Alice and Olivia, the young and trendy stuff. I love that I can see the care in every piece Saks has chosen for their fall collections. Each dress or pant or shoe feels a little bit elevated. So if you want shopping to be fun and easy, head over to Saks Fifth Avenue for inspiring ways to elevate your personal style every day.
Wouldn't it be great to manage your portfolio on one platform? Well, now you can trade all in one place on Robinhood. That means you can trade individual stocks and ETFs, and also buy and sell crypto using seriously powerful and intuitive tools at one of the lowest costs on average without needing to manage multiple apps. Robinhood makes withdrawing and depositing crypto seamless. Send crypto to your Robinhood account or send crypto from your Robinhood account to other wallets without deposit or withdrawal fees from Robinhood. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Network fees may apply to crypto transfers. Crypto transfers may not be available to all customers. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood. Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.
Let's play Burlington's Guess That Price. Back to school means back to saving. We're bringing you kids' jeans starting at, hold on a minute, just $11.99. Burlington's acing this test. What about character backpacks? We've got them starting at $12.99. Burlington's done it again. How about sneakers for the kids? A-plus brands and right on trend starting at $11.99. Saving is now in session. Burlington, deals, brands, wow! Styles and selections vary by location.
You know, it's interesting. You draw this distinction in your reporting between what Trump is doing and what's come before. Like you say, what Trump is doing isn't quite like an oligarchy or a kleptocracy. And I wonder if you can tease out that difference for me, because I think so many people, when they think about what's going on right now, they think in these terms that are familiar to them, that they know of. But I think you, through your reporting, make the case for actually what Trump is doing is quite new and alarming for slightly different but related ways.
Yeah, I mean, I do find a lot of the talk from the left about oligarchy and kleptocracy, and this is like Putin, this is like some sort of third world dictator. It's overblown, and it's really just totally off base. I mean, when you look around the world at other governments that are known for their corruption, you've got situations where the federal budget is just not disclosed or barely disclosed. And the ruler of the country has very little checks and balances and can just take money and transfer it from the federal budget into his own bank account. I'm sure there's a few hers, but mostly it's his own bank account.
But the United States is a different situation where our country itself is so valuable as a brand that it feels to me like what Donald Trump is doing is like making the country's brand his own and therefore making money off of that versus just like raiding the country's coffers.
Yeah, he's finding ways to make money off of the fact that he has the credibility of being in the White House. But, Vladimir Putin doesn't have to sell a hat to make money, right? Vladimir Putin doesn't have to get up in an undignified way and host a dinner for buyers of his meme coin, right? Somebody who's really a proper dictator can just siphon off the cash. What the Trump family is getting into is a lot of hard work. And as I say, a lot of it is pretty undignified. And it's just different. It's just apples and oranges with the kind of corruption you see in foreign countries. And as you suggested, the harm there is more abstract, right? The presidency is something that belongs to all of us. And we have a collective interest in its prestige. So if somebody who is holding that office temporarily as a temporary custodian is milking it for money, in a way, it kind of diminishes that public asset.
Yeah. There's a difference between conflict of interest and bribes. So where is that line here? And are we going to know when that line is crossed?
Hovering over all of this is the question of actual corruption, right? A quid pro quo. I've gone and come up with this $3.4 billion number for the money that Trump and his immediate family have made more or less off the presidency. But what people want to know is any of those payments buying an official favor, right? Is someone doing a deal with the Trump organization because they're going to get some official act out of the White House? And I can't prove that in any specific instance. A quid pro quo like that is very, very hard to prove. And, who knows? But at the same time, when you see the pace of the money-making, when you see how much money is coming in and how eagerly it's being sought, you have to think it's more likely to get you some public benefit. If I'm a foreign government and I'm thinking, is it going to help me out in my relations with the U.S. if I do business with the Trump organization? And then I see that the Trump organization and the Trump family is frantically, furiously, hand over fist, trying to make as much money as they can, more or less off the presidency. Well, I think, there's a good chance that I'll at least get some goodwill out of this. I should do a deal with the Trump organization.
I mean, we are seeing this stepping right up to the line, though, right? Like with Trump's meme coin, where there was that competition of how much you buy, and the big investors were invited to an event with Donald Trump. We're seeing some big investors get favorable treatment from the SEC, for instance, and I agree we cannot prove cause effect, but there's a lot of smoke here.
Well, yes and no. Trump had said very plainly before he got into any of these businesses that he intended to roll back a lot of the SEC actions against people in the crypto industry. And he's done that. Right. So he followed through on a campaign promise in a way that benefited a lot of people in the crypto industry. Now, some of them happen to have made big payments to Trump businesses right before various SEC matters against them were stopped. And that certainly looks fishy when you view it from a certain angle. But nobody's produced evidence that there was actually a deal or a quid pro quo. And I don't think they're gonna.
You've mentioned that you were concerned from the beginning, it's part of why you did your reporting, that basically Americans didn't care about how much money Donald Trump was making off of the presidency. And you hoped that by laying out exactly how much the president is making, you might change that.
Well, I'd say it a little differently. I would say I was puzzled by it. I was certainly puzzled and surprised. I'm not out to get Trump, but I am curious about what people think of all this. And if they don't care, that's going to be a lesson to me, and I think to all future politicians.
Well, what's been the reaction since your big number got out, $3.4 billion?
Well, a lot of people in the news media have shared my astonishment at that number, and the Trump family has not disputed it. The Trump brothers were asked in an interview on Fox about their response to all this.
All of you. Critics are saying, hey, well, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. The New Yorker, for example, says the number. How much is Trump pocketing off the presidency?
And they basically said, I'm paraphrasing, what do you want us to do? We're business people. We're going to stay in business.
And unlike all the other people who'd served as the presidency before, basically since our founding fathers, Trump was the only guy that was actually a businessman before that. Are we supposed to stop running our businesses? Are we supposed to stop doing anything? He's not involved in these things.
One of the interesting things about your reporting was seeing some of it being these long-term investments, like a deal in Oman that you laid out that was 30 years long. Donald Trump is old. He's not going to live to see the end of that contract. It made me think a lot about how these deals, a lot of them were setting up Trump's family and Trump's sons, almost making sure that by the end of his term in office, the Trump family writ large was kind of too big to fail. Do you think about that too?
What is remarkable to me, one takeaway from this again, was that they just seem to be in a hurry. And it strikes me that if I was the Trump family, if I was the Trump sons overseeing the Trump organization right now, I might plausibly think, look, I've got 3.5 more years while Donald Trump is in the White House. I better take advantage of that while I can, because it's not going to be around forever.
David, I'm so grateful for your time and your reporting. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for talking to me.
David Kirkpatrick is a staff writer over at The New Yorker. And that's our show. What Next is produced by Paige Osburn, Elena Schwartz, Rob Gunther, Anna Phillips, and Madeline Ducharme.
Mia Lobel is the head of audio here at Slate. Ben Richmond is the senior director of podcast operations. And I'm Mary Harris. Go track me down on Blue Sky if you'd like. I'm at Mary Harris. Thanks for listening. Catch you back here next time.